Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday practitioner call where we talk about the X39 stem cell activation technology, as well as we deep dive into one or two other patches. As this call is done by practitioners, for practitioners, and their clients. So we go into an hour and we really do talk about more than X39. As we know, practitioners have tools in their box to help their clients get better. And so we need to talk about more than one tool. And that's what Dr. Patty does. Dr. Patty is an MD from San Clemente, California. We'll let her talk a little bit more about who she is. It's special in that we don't get her every week. So when she comes, it's super special. And then at the end of the call, we talk about how practitioners set up their offices. And also, I will talk about the practitioner pack. What pack would be good for an office to start with their inventory? And I will tell you, I have been working on some new tools for getting offices set up with the right pack, and then also how to get the correct information to their patients and clients. So we'll talk about that. We're still in creation mode, but it's almost finished and we'll be on the biz site soon. So I'm very excited about that. So with that, Dr. Patty, why don't you unmute yourself and tell us all a little bit about who you are, your background, what type of doctor you are, and we'll start with that.
Great. Well, it's good to see everybody today, and happy February to all of you. I am a medical doctor. I went to school mid-career or midlife, I guess I should say, because I loved medicine, and I decided I loved being a music teacher, which is what I did the first part of my life, but I wanted to expand and do a little bit more in medicine. And so I'm a Western trained medical doctor. I have a master's degree in public health as well. So I've done a lot of work with corporate medicine. I worked at Kaiser. Initially, that was sort of my first stop after I got out of my residency. And now I work exclusively in functional, regenerative, integrative, holistic medicine, whatever name you want to give it, because I love to try to get to the root cause of problems. So I'm really happy to be a part of LifeWave because it's so compatible with what I do and the way I try to help people in this world. So thank you for letting me share today, Marci.
Oh, thank you for being here. So let's start with the X39, the stem cell activation patch. And this is the product we're talking about if you have not seen it. And it actually looks like a sticker or a patch or even a Band-Aid. And it is a form of wearable light technology or photobiomodulation, light making change in your body. Dr. Patty, let's first talk a little bit about this technology called light. What is light? How are doctors using light technology? And what is a wearable light technology?
So our patch itself is placed in certain energy meridians of the body. And what we mean by that is just areas that are very prominent in directing our body to do certain things. And so when we place that patch that has those little organic sugar crystals and amino acid crystals on our arm or the back of our neck or below our navel, as we do that, what we're doing is we're blocking at that little point infrared light from leaving our body and directing it to come back in. And we know that infrared light is at a very healing frequency. You see that sometimes with physical therapists using infrared light wands to put over areas of pain. Some of you may have actually had the opportunity to lie in an infrared light bed at a gym or a spa. And it's just a very healing therapy. So we're pushing a little bit of that infrared light back into our own bodies, something we make, and we're just giving ourselves a little bit more of it so that it can direct our body to activate certain pathways and reduce inflammation, increase energy, decrease pain, and so on throughout our bodies.
So I just want to talk about light a little more, because I believe light as a healing modality is a new concept.
Right.
Of course, we have compounds like pharmaceuticals, supplements, compounds, whole organic foods, juices, good water. I mean, I would say we understand compounds, but we don't really understand light, nor have we really learned much about it, other than we know when we go out and lay in the sun for 20 minutes, it feels really good. And we are activating, I know, vitamin D, but how does light really work in the body as a way of activating us? Like, does it need to be absorbed in the gut? How fast does it work? Does it work in the right ratio to your body? Like, are we as humans good communicators with light?
I guess that's a question that we honestly don't know the answer to. At least I don't. But I do think that, light obviously is created by, I believe in God. I'm actually a Christian, but light comes from the very beginning. Without light, we can't have life, right? And so we know it's important. We know that as we get into more toxic environments with our air in particular, that we don't get as many UVB rays, and those are the ones that help us to receive vitamin D and then convert it into usefulness in our body. So I think that it's really just the source of life. Light is the source of life. And so if we can harness that power, as our body does, but over time and stress and illness, we may not harness that light as well. We're just allowing our body to do what it does naturally, but to help enhance that process and make it better in the midst of a world that sometimes can be very toxic in the environment.
I love what you said, that light is life. And I love to think about a flower or a seed of a flower and how you need the soil, you need water, and then you need the light. And all of a sudden that beautiful flower blooms. And I like to say that I believe humanity resembles that of a flower. And so my biggest takeaway in the last 3 years with this wearable light technology is that it's activating our own light so that we bloom like flowers. And I know that might sound a little funny, but I do believe that that's what's kind of happening to our bodies. And so let's talk a little bit, Dr. Patty, about actually the X39 now. This is our stem cell activation patch utilizing light. So what is, I'm going to open it up for people to see, what is this white compound in our wearable light technology, and how does it actually work on us?
So when we put that on a special point in the body, it activates or reflects back into us the infrared light that our body naturally has. And so for the X39 in particular, it's going to stimulate a particular peptide pathway in our body called GHK copper. And that's what's so beautiful, is that GHK copper then helps our body to stimulate more stem cell production and better use of our stem cells to make healthier cells just in general all over our body by activating that peptide pathway.
So let me ask you about that. So GHK copper peptide is an important peptide, which is, I believe, what is a peptide, doctor?
So a peptide is just a short chain of amino acids. And in this case, GHK copper is just 3 amino acids that are together in a chain. It's something our body, again, makes naturally. And we use peptides in our body to release many things, to activate many things, and to help our body to stay youthful.
So this GHK copper peptide, this 3-chain amino acid, according to David Schmidt, the owner, inventor, and CEO of LifeWave, and if you go to a website, write this down, startx39now.com, that's startx39now.com, there's a little tab just down a little bit where it says research and patents. David has 100 research studies and 100 patents. He's an inventor. So he actually has a 20-year patent on the X39 stem cell activation patch. And in that patent, doctor, it says that the X39, through this wearable light technology, through reflecting back your own infrared light back into you, because you see, we actually have light coming off of us. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
And it reflects back into us, and it activates in the blood GHK copper peptide. And you can also go to the patent and to the research study a few just below the patent to show that what it activates in your blood X amount in 7 days, or in 24 hours, and then in 7 days. Anyway, you research doctors will love to look at that. But what is interesting to me is that the patent says it does activate GHK copper peptide in the blood, which activates your stem cells. And so the way I think about it, doctor, and tell me if I'm right, I feel like the GHK copper peptide, this 3-chain amino acid, is kind of like a communicator, or like calling up your stem cells and basically saying, hey, stem cells, you got to start working again. Let's start marching again. Let's start making more of you, and let's reset you to act like you're 20 years old again. And your stem cells basically go, well, it's about time we got a phone call because we forgot what to do. And all of a sudden they start marching. What do you think of that? And what does that really mean when GHK tells the stem cells to start marching in your body again and start acting like stem cells acted when you were 20? What is going on? What does that mean, doctor?
Well, as we come into this world as babies, we have lots and lots of stem cells. And as we get older, by the time we're 30, we have about half that number. By the time we're 60, we have another half of that. And you can see that we just continue to lose stem cells over time. And stem cells are really the reparative cells in our body. And then they're the regenerative cells, because obviously if they're constantly repairing things that are not ideal in our body, let's say like our DNA repair, if they're repairing, then we're going to be regenerated. And so it makes sense to try to mobilize our stem cells in our body and to activate them, to increase their activity and ability to function and work in our bodies. That's what we're doing with the X39. And to me, it's just a marvelous way to add to the quality of our life. And again, I'm a physician. I'm not here today to advise people. We don't try to give medical advice per se for individual patients. We're not treating a disease, diagnosing disease, but we're just simply sharing what the studies have shown, or in my case, particular things that have helped me, or maybe some of my patients, because David has done so many studies, and we know that this activation of our stem cells just sort of resets thousands of our genes to a more youthful state. And so that's pretty awesome. And we can do that, as Marci says, for just a cup of coffee a day. It's unbelievably reasonably priced for the benefit that our bodies can get. And we have to support that too. I want to say you can't just slap on a patch and then, have a poor lifestyle and expect a lot to happen. And David does always talk about that in his webinars, how important it is for us to eat well, to drink plenty of water, that helps to activate the patches, to exercise our bodies, to sleep well, to de-stress. All of those things are important too.
It's funny you should say that, because I love when you talk about stem cells are here to repair and regenerate you. And I want to have you all think back to when you were 20. and your stem cells were working. Stem cells are the only cells in your body that are changeable, which means they can change into whatever cell your body needs for repair. So Dr. Patty talks a lot about stem cells. When they start working again, they're like honing birds, and they hone into the inflammation, and then they go and repair it. And then they go and hone into the next inflammatory spot and repair it. The reason we don't have gray hair when we're 20, or wrinkles when we're 20, or that chronic disease process when we're 20, is I believe our stem cells are honing and repairing. So what happens if we start activating our stem cells to work like they're 20 again, honing in to repair? And David says this: use our X39 1 month for every decade you are old for the repairing. So I'm 55. I needed to be in repair for a good 6 months. And then once your body repairs, you know what happens? You go into full-on regeneration. And that's a big word. So what regeneration means to me is we just start looking younger, like a decade younger. And I particularly look at Charlene, she's like a decade younger. I particularly see it in my skin. And actually not just my skin, and actually the tightness of the jaw, the neck, just a more youthful, if I may say for a woman, face, neck, and décolleté. I mean, it's truth. So what do you think about that, Dr. Patty? Like, why are we going, I just sometimes can't believe it's happening. We're going to from repair to regeneration, and we seem to be reversing our age. And I know it's stem cells. I know it's also that we're repairing that DNA that you say. I mean, it's so big, but yet the technology seems so big, but the outcome is so like, duh, we just look young. Like, what's your thought on all of that?
Well, I think that I'm old enough I can go back and talk a little bit about the 1990s when all of this anti-aging was coming out. And of course, now we like to talk about health span and not be anti necessarily anything, but look at a good health span. And by that, what we mean is that it's not like we're just trying to be youthful or, something vain. What we're trying to do is optimize our body so that we have a quality of a life enough to fulfill our purpose on this earth in the way that we're supposed to do. And so we have what I love to say: you want to be happy, healthy, dead, and, into eternity. Because what that means is that you don't want to have this long span of your life where you don't have health span, where you don't feel well, you're not able to do anything, you don't have quality of life. So this is what the patches bring us: quality of life to fulfill our purpose as long as possible on this earth. And that is, to me, what is the beauty of repair and regeneration.
Okay, I just have to say that 3 times. Happy, healthy, into eternity. I mean, wow. And fulfilling your purpose, being happy, healthy. I'm just going to be honest. When I was 20, I was healthy, but emotionally, I was probably a big old mess, right? So I didn't even know what purpose I was supposed to do. And then when I finally started getting into my emotional well-being, I got sick. And then I was too sick to fulfill my purpose, right? And now, after being in remission from breast cancer for 2 years, it's like, finally, I'm happy, healthy, And so I don't know if some of you can process that, but it's like, boy, if only I could have had the emotional stability when I was 20. I happen to have it now, but up until 3 years ago, I didn't have the healthy part to match, right? It's just interesting. Life is just interesting is all I can say. And I will say this too, Dr. Patty, with happy, healthy comes good water, comes a good diet, comes strength training. I've been training now 3 to 4 days a week with one of my coaches, and I have learned that you can work out your chronic disease. Like, that's my new motto. Why aren't we working out our chronic disease? And literally, I can go to the gym now and in 40 minutes do strength training, a circuit of arms, core, and legs. In 45 minutes, I'm done. And I used to think that getting a strong body was like, 2 hours of treadmill, like, it was so overwhelming. I never acted on it. And I realized it's not hard at all. And it's fun to have a strong body again. And so I know you guys are all probably ahead of me on that, but I just figured out that I can, in addition to wear my patches, and I just changed my water to good water. And I'm eating, like, instead of wheat toast, I'm eating gluten-free with my coffee in the morning, like, and I'm working out my chronic disease, and I just keep feeling better. And so I think you're right, Patty, that it's a lifestyle, but the patches just made me actually think in my mind, like, I can have a different lifestyle. It's okay. I go to Mother's Market in California, and now I look at all the people living healthy lifestyles and go, I can do that. I can be that, it's so weird. So anyway, and what's your thought about living in a healthy way?
I think that's true. And, sometimes we need motivation to even get started trying to live a healthy lifestyle. What's the purpose? I feel so bad, mood, I'm not that great. And my body, it's decaying. And, you can get in that kind of a funk pretty quickly. And so it's important to have, I think, the patches it's sort of, which is the chicken or the egg, but the patches can help you go, there is hope. We've got studies that show benefit, measurable benefit. And actually, I'm going to invest in this, and I'm going to give it, like Marci said, that's what I tell all my patients, you give it a month for every decade of your life, just for the repairing stage. And you may not feel any better initially, although David talks about, and I think based on my patients, I'd say about 50% of patients do feel better, certainly within that first month. Many the first day. I was someone that had just a tremendously greater sense of just sort of peace and well-being. It was like nirvana. The first day I literally put on the X39 patch. And not everyone has that experience, but I did. And so it helps to motivate you to say, gosh, I'm going to choose a healthier food here. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to make myself get out and exercise. Maybe join a gym if I'm in an environment where it's cold all the time right now, or if I can be outside, great. And so that's what helps us to get motivated by using the patches sometimes initially, and that's great.
So I have a question for you. Let's go back to stem cells. Like, as a MD, regenerative doctor, internist in San Clemente, California, you used to, or do, I don't know, you have to tell me, but before X39, you were giving GHK copper peptide injections. So I want to understand more about why you were doing that then. And then also, I would love for you to talk about the different types of stem cells and the technology of the stem cells. What are they? What were you doing in the clinic, and what can you do now? And maybe a little bit about the differences, the cost, where you can get them versus, a wearable like technology that does basically the same thing. Like, can you educate us on the history of GHK and the history of stem cell technology?
Sure. So before I found the patches, and I found the patches through one of my patients who shared this information with me. But before I started using the patches and knew about them, I was using GHK copper as an injectable with patients that it's a prescription. I would order them a little vial of GHK copper, and they would get little tiny insulin syringes. I did this myself because GHK copper, I'm quite a fan of it. And when I realized that's what the patches did, I was excited. And you actually inject a tiny little bit of GHK copper directly, pinch up a little skin usually in your belly and just inject a little bit. And you do that for 30 days and you cycle it off and on in 30-day cycles, 60-day, 90-day, you don't do it regularly, but you do it in 30-day cycles. And it definitely was helpful. Yeah, I personally, I slept better. I had more energy and I loved it. And most of my patients do too. But that's about 3 times the cost, maybe 4 times the cost now. Everything's gone up so much of what a patch is. And you're actually injecting a safe peptide, but it's something, again, coming in from the outside. That's why I love the patches, because we're activating what is naturally within us that has just been a little bit suppressed, is a little bit lethargic because of chronic lifestyle issues and illness. And so that's why I love the patches.
Let me ask you
so
one more
much
time
cheaper.
on that. So injecting would be injecting a compound, or even if there was something like a transdermal patch that transdermally gave you GHK copper peptide, it's still putting an outside substance in your body versus our patch, which is non-transdermal and non-invasive, activating through light your own GHK. And so in your opinion, why is it better to activate your own versus putting a foreign substance in your body?
Well, we know there's always a slight risk of infection anytime you inject anything into your body. I've never seen it happen, but there's that risk. Mainly, at least half my patients didn't do that. They weren't going to stick themselves with a needle, right? Even though it's a teeny weeny little pin needle. And so many people weren't even able to do it. How much simpler. And I myself, even though it's basically painless, it's a pain to have to do it every night and, put it all together. Just put a little patch on, you peel off 2 things and stick it on. So easy, so practical, so usable. So, the cost is just amazing for what you get. And then we're not having any risk that we're overdosing ourselves or underdosing ourselves.
Ooh,
which
explain
is,
that, overdosing and underdosing yourself. So when you activate your own body with light, it's like the right dosage. It's like your cells open up to take just what it needs because it's talking to itself, versus like putting a foreign compound. You might be like pushing too much in that your body doesn't want or need all of that, or underdosing, not enough. Explain that a little bit. I think that's very fascinating.
Yes, it is. And, it's hard to know exactly the best dose for everyone. So as a physician, I make my best judgment. But it could be a little too much, not enough. The other thing is that even though it is going directly into the bloodstream when you inject it, we're not so sure exactly how well some people's cells can take it in and use it, because some cells don't have those receptors to receive it in. The body may see it as a foreign substance and sort of overreact. This way, we're just activating our own body's natural processes. And to me, that's so much better. We're going to get the right balance. It may take a little longer for some people to feel that benefit, because for a while, you've got a lot of inflammation that's got to be repaired before you can get to the rejuvenative stage. But it makes so much sense to me. It's virtually completely safe and can be very effective.
So I love what you said. Sometimes with these transdermal patches or the GHK little shots in the belly, if I understand you right, that you as a doctor don't exactly know if you're dosing too much or too little. You as a doctor don't exactly know how, even if it gets in the bloodstream, which means that it's not being processed in the colon, the digestive tract, I understand that, but you still don't know the receptors of the cells, how they're going to receive it. But when you activate GHK with light, it's like the perfect dosage and the perfect communication with light to the cells, and the cells know how to open itself up. And did I basically paraphrase that correctly, doctor?
Yes, exactly. Good job, Marci.
I just love to learn from you. And I've had some folks ask me the difference between light activation of a GHK versus the injection versus even transdermal patches of the same, and even taking the GHK supplement. Like, everybody's kind of wondering, why is light better? And I believe that Dr. Patty just explained that light is better because you can't overdose or underdose, and your cells take it at just the right ratio and the receptors open up. And I needed to understand that better. So this is why we have an MD on the call.
Oh, no, I'm just glad to be here. And the copper actually is what helps to usher that into the body. You need to have copper in your body. You can listen to David Schmidt talk about that quite a bit in order for the patches to work better. And so we have that amino acid, we attach a copper molecule onto it, bring it into the body and use it, or in our case, activating it within the body. And that's the purpose. So that's why we want to make sure we're eating well. We are getting all of our good minerals through our foods and sometimes even through supplements.
I love that. So Dr. Patty, let's talk a little bit about the history of stem cells. I know that you have used intranasal stem cells with patients in your own practice. I would love to know what that is versus maybe PRP, bone marrow, cord blood, cost, what you can get in the US versus in other countries. Can you explain what's out there in stem cells?
Yes, so in the United States, it's getting closer to 2 years ago now, the FDA was concerned about certain stem cell clinics and companies in the United States, and basically just said, no longer are we going to allow clinics to use stem cells. And the stem cells we were using were stem cells called mesenchymal stem cells. Those are our stem cells in our body as adults that we have that can repair tissue, but they can't make a new head, so to speak. And so those mesenchymal stem cells we were deriving from cord blood. Many of you may know about, often new moms are banking cord blood so that they have those stem cells for their family and for their use. And sometimes
and let's explain
we
what
would
cord
use
blood,
those.
what cord blood is. I don't know. I was pregnant. I actually was one of those moms in the 90s that banked my identical twins cord blood. So
Yes.
after you give birth, there's all this blood in your umbilical cord, right? And that has really useful stem cells in it. And that's the cord blood that 20 years ago, they said, bank your cord blood. We don't know what to do with it now, but one day we will. And I got chills, the day has come. So, but in the US, it is now, if I understand it, illegal to use cord blood stem cells. Is that correct?
So what women were doing is when they would have a sterile C-section, certain cord blood companies would, just like people give blood, okay, they would actually give their placenta, which is just simply incinerated in a hospital normally, but they would give that to the cord blood companies so that they could process that and derive stem cells from it. And then those stem cells could be used in other people. And it wasn't anything they were paid to do. They just simply gave this. And so the FDA has said that those type of stem cells now we're not to be using. So if you want to have cord blood stem cells, you have to go to other countries like Panama, Costa Rica to get those. It's very expensive. To go to a place like that now costs you at least 25 grand. In the United States, we were doing stem cell injections, intranasal and also IV. And those would, depending on what it was, would cost you several $1,000s because it is expensive. And so now you have, and I really researched all of that because I myself have an autoimmune disease and wanted to see about this. And I do think overall, relatively, it's safe and super effective. However, again, there's always some risk of something coming into your body. And that's why I love the patches. We're actually stimulating our body's own innate healing ability. And there's nothing better than that.
And I'll tell you that the X39 activates your own stem cells again and activates them to act young again, act like the age of cord blood stem cells, right? But there are other stem cells that people use called PRP. You have to remind me what PRP stands for, and bone marrow stem cells, where they grab those out of your own body and process. But the thing about that, Dr. Patty, that I've always thought was like, well, why would I spend 10,000 on that? Is that they're just processing my old stem cells, which are 55 years old. What do you think about PRP, and what's the true term of that, and of bone marrow stem cells?
Well, so I think that PRP is something, what we're doing is we're trying to get platelets, and we're trying to derive them from plasma. So our plasma is one part of our blood, and we try to use that in our body in a regenerative way. And it can be very effective. Again, it's like anything else. What you're doing is you're taking something from your body and you're putting it back into your body in a little different form. So you're still bringing something in from the outside in. And I don't think that it's quite as effective as stem cells myself. I never used PRP in my clinic because we had so many other options with either stem cells or NAD. But PRP can be very effective because it takes your platelets, concentrates them, and there are many healing factors in PRP. Again, it's expensive. It requires going to a place that has all of the equipment and the proper personnel to administer it. Again, needles are involved, and so many people aren't going to consider that. Just the sight of their blood makes them want to faint. So all of that together, but it can be effective as a treatment. But with the X39 and X49, it's sort of a no-brainer with that we can use that in a much, I think, probably more effective way. And it, again, just stimulates our body every day to do what we want it to do.
So now I remember PRP, platelet-rich plasma, is what that is. And how many injections do people do of that? Are we talking $3,000 an injection? I'm sure it's not cheap for PRP.
No, it's not. Are you hearing that loud noise?
It's okay. It just went away. We're good. I know it's fine.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, so it depends on where you go, but you could probably pay at least $1,500 and upwards. And it's something then that I would suggest that you probably would want to do at least every 3 months, because again, that over time that benefit fades.
And doctor, what is bone marrow stem cells? What's that mean?
So there are some doctors that are still doing in the United States and are able to do so but per FDA regulations, where they actually will do a procedure. They either remove it from your fat cells or from your bone marrow, the stem cells from that area. We know we have stem cells that are concentrated in the bone marrow, and we also have them in the fat cells. And so those are just removed from your body with a procedure, and then they're injected back into your body. So your own stem cells are put back into your own body. I always felt like, for me, and I researched this heavily because I had the choice between doing, the cord blood or the actual, let them derive some stem cells from my body. And I thought, why would I do that? Because the stem cells I have aren't very many, and they're not doing a very good job. That's why I'm looking at stem cells. And so I decided that I wanted young, healthy stem cells. But some people do have good benefit, and particularly for joint injections, we have a lot of research around that it can be helpful. But again, there's 2 procedures, and the downside to that is that you put the stem cells back into you, and the stem cells, where are they going to go first? To just where you did the procedure that has caused inflammation in your body. It's got to heal that first before it can start working in your body. So we know that stem cells go to areas of greatest inflammation first. And so that's what they do in our
that's an
bodies.
interesting segue. So hold on that one. So interesting that you would say that. So you're injecting the bone marrow stem cells back into your bad knee, but you have so much inflammation. And inflammation is an eater of stem cells. So we got yet another problem. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. Hold on, because we have a solution here with LifeWave with inflammation. But before we move into how we deal with inflammation, let me just explain that the X39 activates your own stem cells by reflecting back your own light, your own infrared light, back into your skin and elevating a peptide, GHK copper peptide. That peptide basically acts as a communicator to your old stem cells and says, hey, start marching again, make more of you again, and let's make you, reset you to act like you're 20 again versus old. So X39 is less than a cup of coffee a day. A 30-day supply is $100. So for $100 a month, you can activate your old stem cells to act young again. Like, that's pretty non-invasive and a great option versus all the things that Dr. Patty talked about today. And you don't have to go to another country to get it. You can get it right here. So how do you wear this? Well, it's easy. You can put it right below the back of your neck, underneath your belly button, but your whole body's light. So any spot will do. There's only one rule: 12 hours on to activate and repair, and 12 hours off. Let me say that one more time. 12 hours on to activate and repair, and 12 hours off. The reason you need to turn it on and off is because we are a light signal. And if you wear it 24 hours over and over and over again, your body will get used to the signal and it won't work so well. So once again, 12 hours on to activate and repair, and 12 hours off. You can wear it during the day for 12 hours, or you can wear it at night. So for an example, I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning, and I put my stem cell patch on, stem cell activation patch on. Tonight at 7 p.m., I'll take it off. Now, every light technology that we talk about has its own 12-hour clock. So you can wear some of them during the day, some of them at night. You can wear all of them together. You can even stack them on top of each other. Once again, light is light, which is really pretty amazing. So Dr. Patty, let's talk about Aeon. Aeon is another light technology like X39, and if you open it up, it looks the same. The only way you know the difference is that the back of the patch says Aeon versus X39. So read the back of your patches. And Aeon activates a peptide in the liver that reduces inflammation. I think LifeWave has an answer for the inflammation that's trying to eat the stem cells. Now, you just talked about how you could have inflammation in your knee, and that when you put in an injection of stem cells, the inflammation is just going to eat it anyway. So what if you wore X39 and Aeon together? Would you take care of the inflammation issue? Absolutely, because the inflammation would be eaten by Aeon, which would turbocharge the X39 to work better. So, Dr. Patty, I know you were going to do a little deep dive on Aeon for us. So why don't you educate us a bit on what your findings have been for Aeon?
Sure. So Aeon is what Marci always calls it, sort of our gentle giant. Aeon is amazing in what it can do. And so there is an amino acid in the liver. It's phenylacetylglutamine. And what that does is it helps to reduce inflammation as the liver releases it into the body for use. The other way that Aeon works is with SOD, and we know that's our superoxide dismutase. What that is, it helps to decrease inflammation. And we know that this Aeon patch actually works for many people because we have the studies behind the labs that can show. And I know in my patients, I draw some inflammatory markers, things like we look at cortisol levels, we look at homocysteine, we look at fibrinogen, we look at ferritin. There are a number of different inflammatory markers in our body And we're able to measure that those inflammatory markers go down, according to the studies that David Schmidt has done with the use of Aeon for many of the participants in the study. And so it's very exciting to me that we can truly reduce inflammation. And as we're doing that, it's a perfect partner for X39 so that we reduce inflammation. The stem cells can continue to work because they don't have to make us younger for us to stay alive. We want that to be an ability, right? Okay, we want to look better, but we can look pretty bad and still be alive. So, but we can't look bad. I mean, we can't live with a bad liver. So it's going to be working on the liver. It may not make you look better right away. So we want to get all of our inflammation down. That's why the two should partner together, in my opinion. And then the X39 can begin to help youthfulize not only your cells, but also the way that you look on the outside too.
Wow. I did not know the peptide in the liver. Can you say one more time what the name of the peptide in the liver is called that Aeon triggers to reduce inflammation?
Yes, exactly. So it is phenylacetylglutamine. That's what it's called. And basically it's glutamine, but we attach a phenyl group, a chemical group onto that to make it more effective. So that's why it has sort of a longer name than what we normally hear when we hear glutamine. That's actually the way it's used in the body.
And so I get that. I get that Aeon activates that peptide in the liver, and the liver basically sends out messages to reduce inflammation. Our livers are powerful, aren't they, Patty?
They are very powerful.
So what is SOD? What's superoxide dismutase? Oh, that's a big word. What's superoxide dismutase?
Dismutase, that's right. So again, it is something that is what we would call a super antioxidant. And what that means is that it helps attach to our body's problem cells and areas that we have toxins in our body to pull those out. So it's sort of like a detox in a sense. And so as we age, we have a lot of things that run around in our body that are looking for a partner so they can stay with us. And those are inflammatory things that we don't want to stay with us. If we can bind those up and move them out of the body, then they're not going to cause the damage to our body that we don't want to have. And so that's what an antioxidant or the superoxide dismutase is all about. And it then can help decrease inflammatory markers in the body that we can actually see and measure.
Okay, and can you name those 4 inflammatory markers that you measure for the doctors one more time? Because you know they're going to measure those in their clients now. What were the 4 you measure?
Well, there's several that you can look at, but the main ones, the first one we always start with is cortisol, because we know that if our cortisol is too low or too high, that's not ideal, right? So we measure cortisol levels. That's our stress hormone, basically. We don't want it to be chronically elevated or chronically depressed. So we look at cortisol levels. We look at fibrinogen. We look at homocysteine.
What's fibrinogen?
So fibrinogen has to do with clotting in the body. And if we're in a very state of high inflammation, often our body will not clot properly or clot too much. Okay. So we measure fibrinogen. And often we see a lot of fibrinogen in patients that have had heart attacks or problems with their heart in particular. Another one I didn't mention earlier, but it's CRP, C-reactive protein. That's also sort of a cardiac marker, but it's a marker of inflammation. Homocysteine is another one that has to do with how our body moves through to the mitochondrial, that rocket fuel, the ATP that our mitochondria produce for us. And too much or too little of homocysteine is not ideal. So we look at a lot of those markers, and then we can see if there's really markers of inflammation, we know we've got to target those areas. And often we target them with supplements. But again, if the person's not real well, they may not take those supplements in very well, even liquid supplements. They may not be able to use them. Whereas you put the patch on, it's going directly into our bloodstream, bypassing our gut, which often is a problem. So it makes a lot of sense to use a patch like that, in my opinion.
Wow. We learned so much today, Dr. Patty. we're going to take the next 5 minutes and just show doctors how they can set up their offices. Do we get you next week to do X39 and Alavida? We did not get to Alavida today. I don't know if you'll be with us next week, or
Sure.
maybe I should say the next time you're with us, let's do Alavida. How's that?
Sounds good. That's good. And I can be here next week. So I would love to do that because I love Alavida and I use it myself as well. So that'd be great.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
talk.
Yes.
I always think we can do more than 2, but we can't because the technology is so big. So basically, if you are a practitioner, the way you would set up your office to get this to your clients is, I would like to show you how that would work. Give me one moment to put on the site that would do this. And, you know, Dr. Patty actually asked me about 4 months ago, what could we do to get her clinic up and running to get the product to her patients. So this is some of the things that we've done for Dr. Patty that I'll show you. Under startx39biz.com, under the 14 steps to success, you could go to take an order. This is, you would want to get with the person that brought you here if you're a practitioner, and you would want to tell them that you want your office setup pack. I like the platinum or the diamond pack for an office, and I like the pain and repair protocol or the detox protocol in those. And what do I mean? You mix and match for the pain and repair protocol X39 Aeon, which we talked about, an ice wave, which is another technology that breaks the connection of pain in the connective tissues. And we'll train on that soon as well. Or you would want the detox pack mixed and matched X39 Aeon and glutathione. Of course, X39 is your stem cells. Aeon, we know, reduces inflammation and increases that SOD. And glutathione is the detox pathway to get rid of all the yuck, fungus, mold, toxins, virus, metals, Roundup, you name it. The glutathione pathway is very powerful. So you can mix and match those. So for example, in the platinum pack, it'd be 6X39, 6 Aeon, and 6 Ice Wave for $1,000. And then that gets your price down to, if you average it all up, about $55 a sleeve. And then most of our offices retail X39 for $149. And the supportive patches for $80. But the great thing is, then once you get that set up, you can print out these sheets and you can literally ship to your clients like Dr. Patty does right from LifeWave Company. You have your own website and you put in you take the order on a sheet like this, print out 10 copies, and you literally just ship it to your patients like Amazon. And the company will pay you a thank you check, $50 on a silver, $100 on the gold. And I like to say the silver kit is enough for one person. The gold is a family pack, double what's in the silver. And of course, the platinum and the diamond pack are to have enough inventory for your office, right? So those are the different packs. And what's great is one X39, one X49 equals 2 of any sleeves. And so you can build the pack right here and you take the information and then you can put the order in your back office. If you don't know how to put the order in, just go to tab number 10 and you can watch a video on how to put the order in, or get with the person who brought you here and ask them. Or you can go right to tab 14 under resource library and you can call customer service directly and say, hey, I have my first order. I'm not really sure how to do this. Take a picture of this. I tell you, it will be of benefit to you. And then I also wanted to show you that we also have under take the order this is one of my favorite forms. It's called the All Products Flyer. It used to be called the 1 page, but David's been inventing, and so now it's 2 pages. So we call it the All Products Flyer. And this basically talks about what X39 does. You can see what Aeon does. That's what we talked about. And you can mix and match your packs based on this one page. And you may want to print it out so you have copies. It's pretty simple between the order form and the all products flyer. Once again, you can get this at startx39biz.com under the 14 steps to success under the tab 9, take the order. The other order form that Dr. Patty likes is the protocol form. And you can print these out. And these actually put in protocols, her favorite. The pain and repair protocol, she is X39, X49, Aeon, and IceWave. She adds X49 to it because it builds lean muscle mass and bones. She likes the detox and brain. There you have the glutathione. The skincare is our Alavita, glutathione, and X39, and we're going to talk about Alavita next week. The sleep protocol puts Silent Night in there, which elevates melatonin. And the hormone and digestion, the SP6 helps with regulation of digestion, hormone, and food cravings. And so this is the form that Dr. Patty uses. And so I put this on the site so other practitioners would have it as well. Well, we took it one step further just recently because I realized that we needed some supplies in education in doctors' offices. So this is new. And if you go to the 14 steps to success, under tab number 6, give a gift, you will see that we have some new marketing supplies and my offices are loving it. So you go here to marketing, and what you want to do is you want to take a picture of Sally's name and number. She's our graphic designer and our printer. And what I really love here that's new is my envelope. So we use these gifting envelopes or education envelopes for a doctor, or the practitioner education envelopes. And this explains how the X39 works, placement, and it has the now site. Well, we just created our dollhouse cards to go in there. You're going to love this, Dr. Patty. We have a mini order form in matte. We have the 3 generations in matte, so people can look at these and circle which ones they want. We have the what to expect in matte, which allows you to see the what to expect from the X39. And then we have the health tracker, which you can track your progress. And so I'm loving that. And I'm loving it so much, I'm going to show you how I put one together, because maybe you want to put your own together. So here's my envelope. Okay. And here are my new tools that go into the envelope. So you ready for this? Let's see if I can do this right. There's my little card of 1 page. There's my little what to expect. There's my health tracker so people can track what's going on. And then there's your order form. So you can literally take an order. And so what do I mean by that? I just fill these out, and I just made for Dr. Dana Zappola because she wanted these in her office for setting up her patients. So I just made her 10 of these. And now she has 10 information packets that tell you how X39 works, has the 1 page in it, even has an order form for her. So she can now get everything ready to go. You can literally put these in your office. And if you're wanting to call on practitioners, you can use these to go call on offices because everything's here. We're also going to add another order form for doctor setups that explain both the pain and repair kit and the detox kit for the platinum and the diamond pack. So you can easily set up an office at the same time. And now you've got your little kits ready to take orders and ready to help your clients. So I hope that you find that interesting. I do. I've just started to use these and I'm loving them. So I hope that you find this all. I know you want some of those, Dr. Patty.
Those look great.
I'll send you 10 of those packets if you want. So
thank you. I'd
So
love one.
you are welcome to get some of those ordered through Sally. She has inventory, and if you like them, and we just keep creating here. So with that, thank you so much for coming to the practitioner call. We will see you next Thursday at 9 o'clock Pacific. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Dr. Patty, for coming. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Marci. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.